This is going to be our first actual video. This video is going to be basically just about my blue-black or Dimir mill deck. I've based it around to have multiple win conditions where you can either you have one choice where you can beef up your creatures using the mill component with creatures such as Consuming Aberration, which, let's see if I can get this. I don't know if that's readable, but Consuming Aberration's power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your opponent's graveyards. So, if you're facing a guy and you have torn through his deck, because this is a 5-drop, so by turn 5, you're going to have a nice amount of cards in their graveyard, if you're running a good mill deck at least. So, you get him out there, let's say for example, I don't know, he's a 5-drop 15/15, he doesn't have trample, he doesn't have any of that junk, but he does have a nice second ability where anytime that you cast a spell, each opponent that you're facing, they have to mill through their deck or reveal the top card of their library until they reveal a land card. Then they take every single revealed card and put it in their graveyard. So if you're playing something like Essence Harvest right here, which Essence Harvest, target player loses X life and you gain X life. X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So if he's a 15/15, then you play Essence Harvest resolves, therefore considering it being cast. They mill through till they hit a land, and then Essence Harvest happens. So you can mill through an extra 5 cards. Making him from going from 15/15 to a 20/20, you gain 20, they lose 20. Somehow you're at a perfect game still on their side, they still lose. It's a very risky win condition. I personally haven't been able to do it very many times. It's great for multiplayer Magic though, but you still have multiple other options. For instance, you have your mill component, which is, if you don't know what a mill deck is, basically you take somebody's deck, and here's their library, you take it and you just kind of flip it over. Then it becomes their graveyard. If you can't draw a card, if they cannot draw a card, then you win. Bada bing, bada boom. Pretty simple. You have some pretty basic mill cards in here, such as Dream Twist, which is a first turn mill. It's 1 blue to play, and target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Absolutely amazing card right off the bat, in my opinion. Especially if you're turn 2, nothing else. You can play it again for 2 mana in your graveyard and exile it. I run 3 of them. I would be running 4, but my local card shop is actually out of them and has been for the past, 3 months, which saddens me quite a lot. Things like Thought Scour, kind of like Dream Twist, but a little bit less. It's still a 1-drop, and it still mills, but it's only 2 cards, but you get to draw a card as well. So they mill 2, you draw 1. No flashback, but still a solid 1-drop, 2 cards off the top first turn, you get an extra card in your hand. That means you're 1 step closer to getting one of your, if you're running a proper mill deck, your 4 Mind Sculpts. Mind Sculpt is a 2-drop sorcery. Target opponent puts the top 7 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Fantastic card. It really is. I mean, you go face any mill deck, and this is what you're going to be going against on turn 2. Some other pretty basic milling components are right here, Increasing Confusion. I was lucky enough to get these back before they kind of got beefed up in price. I believe they're $3 to $4 at my local card shop now. But target player puts the top X cards of his or her library in his or her graveyard. So that's, if you have 5 mana and you tap 5 mana to play it, it's 1 blue and then X. So you tap your blue and then you tap X extra whatever color. You tap 4 extra, that's 4 cards. It goes to your graveyard. So, out of the hand, Increasing Confusion, no, not the best of cards, but if you get this guy in your graveyard, he's a game ender late in the game. Late in the game, you've got, let's say you've milled through about half their deck, and you've got about 10 mana out. You can tap 10 mana for its flashback cost. Let's see if I can get that on the camera. It's not focusing very well, but flashback, it's the same cost. It's X and a blue. So, already, you tap 9 mana for its flashback cost, and boom, there's 8 cards off the top, right? No, wrong. You double what X is. So you tap 9, they mill off 16 cards. You run multiple of them as I do. That's periodically throughout the game, you're just hitting them big time. You also have things like, it's a newer card, it's from Gatecrash, which I guess Gatecrash is actually a couple months old now, which, wow. But, Mind Grind. It's kind of like Increasing Confusion's big brother. Mind Grind is 1 black, 1 blue, and then X colorless. And each opponent reveals the top card of his or her library until they reveal X land cards. So land card could mean something like a dual land, it could mean a basic land, it could mean a guild gate, anything of that sort. But they reveal until they hit X land cards. So if you tap a total of 5 for this, they're mill until they hit 3 land cards. 3 land cards, sorry for that noise, that was my phone, I forgot to turn off the vibration. 3 land cards, turn 5, I don't